Hi, welcome to another video by Jimthecarguy. Today we're going to be working on a 2005 Mitsubishi Galant. We're going to be replacing the front brakes as well as the brake pads. We're going to lubricate all the slide pins so everything slides exactly as supposed to be. Customer complaint is that the brakes pulsate when they apply the brakes. The steering wheel rocks as well as the foot. You can feel the foot moving up and down on the brake pedal. So let's get over there and we're going to get started. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and if you like what I'm doing, give me the thumbs up. Let's get in there and get working. Okay, this is the brakes that we're going to be replacing. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take out these screws right inside here. Sometimes they come out with just a regular Phillips head screwdriver. Other times they may not come out as easy. So if you can't get it out with a Phillips head screwdriver, I'm going to show you a trick that you can actually do. What I would normally do is just take a drift like this, whether it's brass or metal, put it on top here, and just wrap it really hard, and it loosens the screws up and they come right out. Otherwise, you can wind up stripping them out if they don't come out easily enough. In this case, it looks like they will come out, but we'll see. Next thing we're going to do before we do anything is we're going to come in here with a tool to pry the caliper back. You put it in through the side right here, hook it, and you just pry it. And you push it all the way back as far as it can go. And the reason you want to do that before you get started is you want to make sure that your slide pins right here are sliding the way they're supposed to. And as you can see here, the caliper slides just the way it's supposed to, so we know our slide pins it's working properly. We're going to lubricate them, but they're working okay. All right, so let me set the tools up and let's get started. Okay, now remember what I was telling you about, just in case it's too tight and you can't remove the bolts here. What you do is you get on here with a driver like this here, and you just hit it firmly a couple times, like this, and it breaks them loose. In this case, I don't think that was going to be an issue. I believe it was going to come right out. So, but if you did have a problem, that's what you would do. And then you can just remove these with a normal screwdriver. Okay, once you've got your screws out here, then what we're going to do is we come around to the back of the rotor right over here, and we remove this screw here. It's a 14mm bolt that holds the caliper to the mounting bracket, and we have the same thing down underneath here, the exact same thing. We're going to take this one out right here too. Alright, so we'll take these two out, and we're going to take that off. Like I said, I think they're 14mm. Take these bolts out, don't lose them, because we're going to need to reuse these again. Then what we're going to do is we're not going to leave the caliper hanging by the hose. What we're going to do is take a hanger like this and just relocate it up and out of the way like that. All right. Then what we're going to do is we're going to remove the mounting bracket. I'm going to show you the mounting bracket. Okay. Then once we have the caliper out of the way, we're going to take out these bolts right here, this one, and it'll take the mounting bracket off of the car. So let me just take that out of there, and we'll continue with this. And I believe that's 17mm, if I'm not mistaken. So let's you can use an air ratchet if you have it, or you can just take it out by hand. Take our mounting bracket off like this. Don't lose the bolts because you're going to need them to put it back. Very difficult to get off. What I normally do is I get behind it with a pry bar, and I'll just hit it a few times with a hammer, and usually it'll pop right off. So let's see how that works. If not, you know, we have a different way of doing it. Hit it right here. Pretty rusty. So we're not going to play around, we're not going to beat it up. So what we're going to do is we're just going to grab a, let's just straighten this out a little bit. These rotors here have little bolt holes in them, so you can remove them from the car fairly easy without going through too much of an issue. I'll show you. What you would do is right in here, you can just screw a bolt in here into these threaded holes here, and you can remove it from the car. Just screw the bolt in there, and then you can tighten that bolt down, and it'll pop that rotor right off the car, and you won't have to kill yourself trying to get it off. Okay. Really comes right off the top. Now we're going to hold on to this bolt because we're going to need to use this on the other side. But once you pop it off, the rotor comes right off the car, and we're all set. All right, we're going to clean the face up right here before we start to put this job back together. So let's clean this up, and we'll come right back. Okay. Now that we have everything removed, we're going to reinstall our replacement rotor back on here. Oh, I just want to point out that the replacement rotor does not have the holes that you can put the screws back in. So we're just going to do without those screws. We put our rotor back on here like this. What I normally do is I'll put one of the lug nuts on there and screw it down just so it holds the rotor in place while I'm working on it, so I don't have to worry about the rotor moving around. You put it on just like that, and now the rotor is held pretty much in place. It isn't going anywhere. Okay, then what we're going to do is we take our brake pads out like this and like this. And we're going to be replacing the hardware on here also. This hardware comes right off like this. And this one pulls right out like that. And these are pretty clean. Normally you'd have to clean these up a little bit. If that was the case, you can get in here with the file and clean it up a little bit, but these look pretty good right here, so we're not going to worry about that. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to reinstall the new hardware kit. Whenever you do a brake job, if it don't come with the brakes, buy yourself one. It'll save you a lot of headaches later on. And these just push right in, just like that. Same thing on this one here. Goes right over the top, just like this. And you push it into position. So that's all the way down, like that. And the hardware kit's in. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove these pins right here. These slide pins. And the reason you're going to do that is you have to lubricate these with the silicone grease that's made specifically for brakes. All right, what you do is just lubricate a little bit, and then you put it back in the same hole it came out of. Same thing here, and just lubricate a little bit. Put it back in like that. Push it in. Now, any place that the brake pad touches, you lubricate with this silicone. Just like that. Same thing here. All right. Then we can remount this bracket back on that we previously took off in the back here. And once you have it screwed in by hand, then you can tighten it up all the way with the ratchet. Nice and tight. Same thing on the top one. nice and tight. Now we're ready to put our brake pads back into the caliper, and they just fit back in there like this. And they push right in. And you'll notice with the lubricant on there, it slides fairly easy. Same thing on the back shoe. Put it back in there, and it pushes back in. Now, I want to point this out. This is the caliper, and if the pistons did not push all the way back in on the caliper, what you could do is you could put your pad in here like this, and like this, and then they make a special tool that you put in here, and you would tighten it, and I'll show you. You would put this tool in here like this, and you push the piston all the way back in. But by us using the pry bar to push the piston back in, we don't have to worry about doing that. We're all set. All right? So, just get this down here. Then just put your caliper back on. Be careful not to kink your hose right here. You want to make sure your hose is not twisted. We'll put it back in. And we'll just line these up. And then we'll grab the 2 bolts that we previously took out that hold it in place. Catch them by hand until you can screw them in as far as you can. And then once they're tight, then you would tighten it up all the way with your ratchet. Okay. Let me just point out a couple things to you. One thing you want to make sure is that your bolts for the back of the caliper itself, the mounting bracket, are nice and tight, the 2 of those, this one as well as this one. You want to make sure your 14 millimeter is tight here and here. Okay. And then you want to make sure that these pins right here are not crooked up against it. You see that little flat piece right there? You want to make sure that these pieces sit right into that groove the way it's supposed to, otherwise you're going to wind up with a pulsating pedal. Alright, so that's it. We're pretty much all set. Next thing we're going to do, go to the other side, and we're going to do the exact same thing on the opposite side. Alright, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. And don't forget, hit subscribe to my channel if you like what I'm doing.